What's up, guys? Average Kiwi Guy here. How y'all doing? So it's Flash Night. That means we go check out the latest episode. And again, they are still continuing on this. Like, we're gonna do a complete 180 and make the show completely, light and happy now. And we're gonna go back to what we were in season one. And we're not gonna, stick with this sort of dark and dreary Barry, which is very nice, very very nice. I far prefer this. It's just, I think because they've done it so fast and so, just, there was no time where they, Barry's, you saw Barry getting over his past and all the rest of it. You didn't see any of that. You saw, basically, he went in to the Speed Force dark and dreary and came out completely happy and free and all the rest of it. And, insanely excited to be the Flash again. And I don't know, it feels weird. It feels weird, and it almost gives you whiplash because you're like, damn, like, seriously? Like, is this, there was no, you feel like there was no real build up to this, and like him kind of, getting over all the things that he's had to get over to get back to being the Barry that we've kind of all wanted to show back up again. But, I think, over the next few episodes, we'll get used to it, and, I think this season will be better for it. I really do. But we are in the sort of, for me, this is like, this between like the second episode and like maybe the fourth or so. This is the time where, no real big things happen. No real big things. It's just little tidbits here and there. And mixed signals was the same, exact same. Basically, it was all about, Kilgore, another DC villain, sort of getting its, first taste into the Flash and CW and all that, and essentially just dropping little nuggets of what the Thinker's doing. That was really, the only real big thing that happened in this episode. Everything else was more, how is Barry fitting back into the team? How is Barry fitting back in with Iris? There's a lot of stuff, like, everyone's happy, and Barry's insanely happy. He's like dancing and making breakfast and all the rest of it. He's, super excited to be back and who he is, but not everything is as, sort of as smooth as what he thinks it is, or, going as smoothly as what you would think, being the show's all happy and all the rest of it now. So definitely having some problems with, meshing back together with Iris. Basically, there's Iris, because when Barry was away for 6 months, she basically took over the team. She became the boss of the team. She, sort of that team leader. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. Break it down. Okay, team, what are we going to do to solve this? The team leader. And Barry's not used to that. Barry isn't used to that. So when, really for the first time, they sort of have to work together, things don't go so well. They don't go so well, and Barry kind of does his own thing, which he's kind of used to doing. He sort of, instinctively just does stuff without really thinking of the consequences, or, maybe this street's not the safe street to send the out-of-control smart car down because of roadworks and all that. Maybe I should start listening to the whole, the group of geniuses that I have at my disposal in my ears to figure out what we're going to do. So they had some struggles with that. And it involves, it's sort of them getting over that, involves them going to some counseling. And, they sort of, just trying to discuss with this counselor, what's going on, but without telling them exactly what they do. And, theoretically, people could die. And, they were trying to, it was a lighthearted, but you could tell it was built into something kind of serious as they were going through. And ultimately, it comes down to the fact that Iris still kind of resents Barry for leaving her. And just sort of self-sacrificing himself without even thinking of, what's it gonna do to me? I mean, she felt like she was kind of abandoned at that point. And, I get why you did it, and but you never consulted, you never talked to me about it or anything like that. So she was kind of upset about that, and that's why she's been a little weird with Barry coming back. And honestly, if you see Barry one way when he goes into the Speed Force and comes out this way, you would be like almost like, are you really Barry? And that's what I honestly thought for a while, was because the way Barry was acting, he wasn't quite right. I thought like maybe something had gone wrong with him, or he wasn't quite the Barry that, that went in there. But no, it's just, CW doing a complete flip on him. But yeah, that's sort of the reason why Iris has been a little bit, standoffish with Barry, not quite, not as happy as you would think she would have been to have him back. But, so they kind of have to work out their, communication skills and all the rest of it. So they're going through the relationship stuff at the moment, which is good. Which is good, because we haven't had that for too much in this series. Because with the previous, really last season was when they really got together. We've never had that time, because there was always some horrible crisis thing that was happening, like someone died, or this died, or that died, or oh, I gotta break up with you, oh no, Iris is gonna die, so I can't possibly do that, oh no, I'm marrying her for the wrong reasons, and it was all very messy. Now they're getting down to the fact with being in a relationship with a superhero sort of thing. They're getting into that stuff, which I think kind of suits the Flash kind of, because it's more of a lighthearted show now. It's not like the Arrow, which can be, kind of can play on that dark and shadowy stuff. They can go into the relationship stuff with Iris, mainly because we all know that Iris and Barry are meant to be together. They are the, the Lois and Clark of the Flash universe. So this is, I'm kind of glad they're getting into this now and actually really starting to explore the problems that, come with being, in a relationship with a superhero and, being in that world together. I think it's good. It's good. I think it's something that the show needs to do. So they're working that out. We also have Gypsy coming back. Cisco, who's I'm glad he's sort of back to normal now. He's the fun-loving. He's telling jokes, wisecrack and all the rest of it. When he went through that real sad, depressing, thing where his brother got killed and all the rest of it, because of the whole Flashpoint stuff. That was when I was like, nah, don't do that to Cisco. I like the way he was. He's the fun-loving best friend, who's just excited to be in this, in this world with Barry and stuff. And now that, they're starting to use him more as a hero, which I would have liked to have seen a little more in this episode, but as long as they use him here and there, like more in the big fights, I think it'd be okay. Just don't always use him as an IT guy. But I'm glad that Cisco is back to the way he is. He's very proud of his suits and stuff, and we'll get into the whole suit stuff. But Gypsy is, he's still together with Gypsy, and that kind of dating and stuff like that. And it was a nice little subplot. And he's him sort of getting into trouble because he keeps putting off this date that he's meant to be going on with Gypsy, and Gypsy sort of does the whole like, oh no, it's fine, when it's not fine. It is never fine when a girl tells you that. When you're meant to do something and you say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it today, and she goes, oh no, it's fine, don't worry about it. You should be worrying about it. Definitely. And Cisco finds that out. And it's sort of to do with this sort of 111 day, which is basically Valentine's Day on Earth 19. And, then they start going on about other holidays, which is like Saint Shaquille O'Neal Day? Okay. Saint Shaq Day, I'll take that. But, so they had a nice little subplot to it, and it was a little bit of, fun relationship stuff with them. But then you really get into the Kilgore stuff. And, the stuff they did with Kilgore, they adapted it so that the whole metahuman thing works. Because really Kilgore isn't a person, it's more like, how they described it as a virus. He's sort of like a biological virus, computer virus that can go in and take over stuff and all that. He was more that, not the actual person that they sort of showed in this episode. He was cool. he was a somewhat interesting villain. It was good to see an actual Flash villain showing up. But again, these episodes, these villains that are showing up, they're not gonna play too big a role. They're only gonna be little tidbits for basically until Thinker shows up and starts showing his master plan. That's really it. And I don't really expect him to really show up until like the 5th or 6th episode. I don't plan on seeing him for another couple of episodes. So all this stuff is just a little bit of filler. It's a little bit of filler. The whole spurned geek, that he created this program, and his partners that were with him basically shoved him aside, and they all became billionaires, and he didn't get anything. And he basically goes around and tries to revenge kill them all. And he only really kills one of them, just brutally with an elevator. Like, basically, shook him up and splattered him all over the elevator. It was pretty brutal. But the others, they all managed to escape thanks to the Team Flash and all that. But again, the main thing was Barry fitting back into all this. Like, even Wally, Wally and all that, they kind of felt a little left out because, Wally's used to being the guy on the scene, like the guy who has to make, the Flash, because he was the only one around. Now he's back to being a sidekick. Now he's back to being that sidekick. And especially since Barry is, his power level stepped up now, he's just far more better than what Wally is now. He really is. And like even the final fight with Kilgore and the whole funny thing with Barry's suit, because the whole thing was Cisco putting all those gadgets into Barry's suit. I'm glad Kilgore just exposed it all and they're taking it all out of the suit. I'm glad they did that, because if the show started saying like, oh no, Barry uses all these gadgets, and has freaking Iron Man repulsors in his freaking hands and all the rest of it. No. That's not how Flash works. Flash is all about speed. It's all about his lightning. It's all about that stuff. So he's got enough stuff. You don't need to give him all the gadgets too. But the HUD stuff for his mask and all that, I think they should keep. I think that was kind of a cool thing. But the gadgets and the freaking blow up boat stuff, you can take that out of the suit. We don't need that. But I still really like the look of the suit though. I still really like the look of the suit. But yeah, so like even in that final fight, Wally gets his ass sort of, blown up by the Iron Man bloody laser that is in freaking the suit. And then it comes down to a typical, Flash has to learn the lesson of the day sort of thing. Like what's the lesson he's got to learn? Always listen to Iris. Straight up. Just always listen to Iris. Iris knows what she's talking about. Just listen to Iris. She's fine. And, she has to shoot a lightning at himself because Kilgore is basically taking over his suit. So he has to sort of, restart the suit, really, short out the suit so that it's just, a normal suit, I think, again. And, the self-destruct, for some reason, Cisco built this self-destruct thing into it. And, like, kind of like a crazy inventor that sort of just gets too involved in it all. He creates a freaking self-destruct suit, which also locks the user into it. Even the Flash, who can phase through things, because apparently, that's a thing. And yeah, so he has to shoot a lightning at himself, and that kind of resets the suit, and Flash saves the day. So yeah, it was the Kilgore and all that. It was a solid villain. It was more about Flash, more about Barry, and these villains that are coming up probably for the next 2 or 3 episodes. They just don't mean much. But until they will play a role, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Because the interesting part about Kilgore, or this Kilgore, was that he did not get his powers from the particle accelerator explosion. No, he got them from somewhere else. And honestly, I think it's Thinker. I think Thinker is giving them to him. I think because at the end, when they do the little teaser for Thinker at the end of these episodes, he's they're keeping an eye on Kilgore, and it's like Subject 1. So I think they're doing experiments to see if they can give powers to different people. And they're kind of seeing how they develop and react and all that. So interesting. So maybe Thinker's creating an army of metahumans to go at Flash. I don't know, but I'm just glad that we got a villain who's not a speedster, because we're done with that. We're done with that. We really are. Once you get away from once you get away from Thrawn, it's pointless having another speedster enemy. So I'm glad Thinker a different villain than what we're used to seeing Flash go up against. I'm glad we're seeing that more. And then seeing us hopefully the long con playing out could be kind of a cool thing with him. And I like the look of him. I really do. I like the whole floating seat. It's very super villain looking. I think that's the cool part about it. It's going to that comic book super villain look. I dig that. And yeah, I mean, there's still parts that Flash has to work on, like the show itself. Like, a lot of the writing sometimes kind of makes Barry to look like a jerk. He really does. Like, he doesn't listen to people, and like I think that's what the whole therapy thing was for as well. Was Barry's sitting there and he's not really paying attention to anything that's happening. He's kind of like just reacting to what Iris is saying, and he's kind of easily distracted, and hopefully he starts learning from mistakes that he's made in the past. And I think the whole team has to go for that as well, because how many times have they said, like, they've had a team meeting and they said, all right, guys, we're going to have no more secrets between each other. And then about 2 minutes later, someone has something big happen to them and they keep it a secret. It's kind of like what's happening with Killer Frost right now, or Caitlin is, she's still got Frost in her, and that she's still trying to control her. Like, there's these moments where she's like, and not now, don't come out. You're not allowed to come out right now. So she's still learning how to control it, but again, she's not telling anyone that she still has Killer Frost in her. So I kind of wish they would learn from their mistakes a little bit and actually kind of just own up to it and let the team help. But then the show wouldn't have drama, and then the show wouldn't have these secrets and bombshells and stuff. But I don't know. Sometimes you get bored of the same old problems coming up over and over again. So I think they need to be careful on what they do with Barry and get him learning a little bit, and maybe not just dismissing everyone's ideas just because, they're not the Flash. And I think when, Iris said, like, no, when, you're not the Flash, we're the Flash, sort of thing between him and Iris. So that was cool. That was cool. I think hopefully it'll help Barry sort of develop as a character a little bit too, in that sense. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big, hard hitting episode. This episode, it was, like I said, it was more of a fun, kind of Barry fitting back into the everything kind of deal. And these next few episodes are gonna be that way, because it's, really it's not until halfway, maybe a little more than halfway till mid-season finale, the mid-season finale is where we get the actual big villain showing up and kind of unleashing part of his big plan, and really sort of putting Flash into a bit of a check, and seeing where everything comes, where he stands with him, stuff like that. So we'll see how these next few episodes kind of develop. And I'm glad that Flash is kind of going back to the way that they were in season 1, having fun with it. Barry's happy to be the Flash. He's glad, and he's not moping about something all the time. And Cisco's back to being the cool, fun, best friend, and they're exploring stuff with Iris and all that. I'm happy. I'm happy with the way they're going. It's a bit of a like a 180, and you sort of get a little bit of whiplash from it, because it's just like, okay, that was really fast. It's really fast that you've done this, but I'm happy. I think it's going to help Flash in the long run. I think it really will. But yeah. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace. Bye.